I came across a car in 1989 when I was working in London. I used to walk past it every day at a house in Ilford, and then I decided I'd like to buy it, so I went and knocked on the person's door. It wasn't for sale, and I asked them if they wanted to sell it. So I then took it back to my parents' house on the back of a transit transporter, and when I got it home I stripped it down completely, took everything out of it, and all that left was the shell. But the original shell of the car was completely rotten underneath, which I should have picked up before I bought it. So I scrapped the shell, managed to buy another shell, another RS2000 shell, and from there I put new front wings on it. I had a new front panel put on it. I've had a new slam cross member under there. I've had new sills, new rear arches, and yeah, it was done locally, and I've been told now to bring it home and rub it all down before I take it back to the man to do the final prep before it's sprayed. I've also had the engine rebuilt. That was rebuilt, well, that was rebored and reconditioned by Holby Engineering in Ipswich, and that's sat on the bench since I've rebuilt it. So done lots to it, but lots needs doing to it still. I don't dislike anything about the car. I like the car, and it's just a car which developed out of the Escort twin cam. It's the RS2000, and it's a car which I always liked, and in its day the RS2000 was the hot hatch of the day. Well, having had it since 1989, I'm now coming to the conclusion that maybe I won't restore it myself, and I'm going to have to get some help from people to restore it. So recently I've been down to Wales, where I met a man from the Escort agency who specialises in restoring Escorts. So I might take it there. I'm going to go and see a person in Rochester who also restores these and see what he has to say. Or I might project manage the job myself and just get local firms to do the parts and restore it for me. So yeah, got some plans.
Well, what happened was, got the car in 1992, and the reason why we got it is because the family car that we had was actually stolen when we were on a family holiday in Yorkshire. So we came back to the car park where we'd left the car, and all that was left on the floor was the little keyhole, the little bit you stick your key in the door. That had been forced out, and they'd managed to get into it, and everything was gone, closed, the lot. It came out the factory with a 2.2 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine and a 4-speed manual gearbox. I lifted the whole body off and put a new chassis on it, which is the whole sort of construction underneath, which you can still buy new. And I had it galvanised coating, which is something that really protects it against rust, so it's got about a 30-year life, the frame underneath. Whilst I was doing that, I got a 5-speed gearbox from the Defender, so instead of only having 4 now, it's a 5-speed gearbox. I got an engine from a Discovery, Land Rover Discovery, a 2.5 litre, 113 horsepower. Mated that all together, and the whole engine and gearbox assembly was about 4 inches longer than the original drivetrain. So I moved the gearbox back 1 inch and the engine forwards 3 inches, made some modifications to the inside of the engine compartment, adjusted the length of the drive shafts so that everything lined up. I like the fact that it's got its original paint on it, which you can see is starting to peel off in various places, so it's never been painted, even though underneath you know, it's structurally good and mechanically very reliable. I like the fact that it looks a 40-year-old car. What I don't like about it is inside there's no roof liner, so the roof above your head is just bare metal. So what can happen is in the winter it gets very condensation in, you get a lot of condensation, and then the condensation freezes, so you just get ice on the inside of the roof. So when you drive a short journey, you can either leave the heating off in the winter and the ice stays frozen, or you can turn the heating on and the ice melts and then drips on you. In fact, ironically, probably the alterations and modifications I've done to it have actually decreased its value. There was a point maybe 10 years ago when it made it more valuable, but as they're getting rarer and rarer and rarer, the classic car enthusiasts are sort of looking to find original examples, and even though that looks original, it's not original underneath. Although all the modifications that I've made have been made so that if you wanted to, with only a small amount of work, you could put the original engine and gearbox back in the vehicle and therefore turn it back to original specification.
Originally, we were sort of looking at the typical things like Astras and just sort of things that would get me about, run arounds, and then I brought up the factor of getting a Mini, or the possibility, and it took around a year of searching to find, you know, one that I was happy with, right colour and right sort of body parts, things like that. But once I got fixated on having a Mini, that was sort of the aim. Quite a lot's been done to it. In terms of engine wise and things like that, it's had a brand new engine rebuilt from scratch, mainly because I blew the other one up, going a bit too fast. So that got rebuilt, and that's quite a lot of money. To be fair, a lot of the things that have been done to it haven't really been optional. They've been things that have had to be done to make it safe and things like that. But once you get that sort of base sorted, you can start adding things like these fog lights weren't originally on it. These lines down here weren't. It didn't have these big wheels originally. It had the smaller ones, but it still had the big arches, which was quite bizarre. So we got the big wheels fitted a few months ago, and it's just things like that, so you just start building it up and getting it how you want it exactly. What I like about it is that it's practically a big go-kart. You can just throw it around, it grips like hell, and it's just really fun to drive. And when I was learning to drive, I drove a modern car, Peugeot, and when you compare the two, this feels like you've got more control. It actually feels like you're in control of driving, whereas when you drive modern cars, you've got things like cruise control and things like that. It just takes away the experience. So that's what I love about this car. It's just fun to drive, and it's iconic. It's just, everyone looks at it. It's just classic, if you know what I mean. In terms of dislikes, if I have to be brutally honest, it's just reliability, and that's the same with any classic car. It's part of it. Once you buy your way into a classic car, you know exactly what you're getting into. We've been thinking recently about whether we're going to get a new car and things like that, and I just don't want to sell it. I just really don't want to sell it. So I think we're going to keep it. I'll keep it as long as I can. If it gets to the point where it's undrivable, I'll end up restoring it at some point whenever I get the money, have it put away for a while. But in terms of recent future, things like bodywork and paintwork, that's the main aim at the minute. Everything mechanical wise is okay at the minute. So no big plans. My goal, I think, is probably get it to the Nürburgring, like we were saying. But no, apart from that, I can't really think of too much that I want else done to it. I love it the way it is.